Welcome to Rap Stories, a show where I get the background on some of my favorite albums of all time by the artists who made them. I'm your host, David Dennis Jr., and today I'm joined by Goodie Mob to discuss their album, Soul Food. In 1995, the Dungeon Family Quartet, Goodie Mob, comprised of CeeLo Green, Khujo, T-Mo, and Big Gipp, dropped their debut project, Soul Food, which feels more like a religious text than the classic album. Growing up in the South, this album is the rap Bible. It's full of sermons about black liberation, mass incarceration, and spirituality. Plus, hymns and testimonies about black life in the South, namely Atlanta, Georgia, in the mid-90s.
When the scene unfolds, young girls, 13 years old, expose themselves.
I was 9 when Soul Food came out and just a little too young to understand the complexities of what Goodie Mob was rapping about all throughout this project. But I do remember Cell Therapy. It was the first single that rang off like a hood-ass nursery rhyme that everyone in school was repeating. Either on the playground or after school, as a kid in the South, you couldn't go anywhere without rapping along to the lyrics.
Who's that peeking in my window?
And let's not forget that beat. It's one of the grimiest Organized Noize productions they've ever put together. It was as haunting as it was hype. If you were in the South in 1995, you wore that track like a badge of honor. Soul Food is the first time most of the world had heard of the phrase Dirty South. You gotta remember, this is before hits like Welcome to Atlanta and Get Low, before rappers were in press conferences calling the city Wakanda, before Jeezy, Ludacris, and the Migos. Hell, this is before the 1996 Olympics. Atlanta was known as the home of Dominique Wilkins, Freaknik, Coca-Cola, and a deep history of civil rights work. To listen to Soul Food is to go back to that very specific cultural moment when Atlanta and the South was on the cusp of a transformative era. This album is also one of the very first trap albums in hip-hop history. Groundbreaking doesn't even begin to do Soul Food justice. When I revisit Soul Food, I feel all of that and more. These four brothers run through so many emotions and lessons that it's almost overwhelming. They open up their hearts and spirits about black motherhood, the prison industrial complex, police violence, paranoia, and black masculinity. The group displays so much honesty and vulnerability that it feels cathartic, especially in a genre that is often focused on holding up the mask of apathy and shit-talking. To me, Soul Food isn't just an album. It's a work of literary excellence in the tradition of Kiese Layman, Jesmyn Ward, Imani Perry, Maurice Garland, and Regina Bradley. There's not a more pure and vibrant example of painting a picture of blackness in the South than Soul Food. And as someone from Mississippi, I know one thing for sure. I'll always know what to say when anyone asks, who's that peeping in your window? And here to discuss one of rap's most influential albums is one of the greatest music groups ever, a crew that set a standard for black Southern artistic expression, and some of the illest MCs of all time, Goodie Mob.
Hey, man.
Hey, man. Woo! That was an incredible introduction, my brother. Awesome, man. Great job, my brother. I'm trying to tell you.
I want a copy of that, man. I need a copy of
awesome,
that, man. I got to copy and paste that somewhere, man.
I got you. I got you. We'll put it there and send it to all of you. It'll be an honor, for real.
Nice.
All right, let's get into the show. Brothers, thank you so much for being here. What are your thoughts when the word Soul Food come to mind?
Family, man. I mean, me personally, man, when I think of Soul Food, I think of a time where families sit down and just talk about things. You know what I'm saying? It's one of those times that, you know what I'm saying, either we're doing it now or getting back to doing that, man. But it really brings family to my mind when I hear Soul Food, when we're talking about food, period. You know what I mean? That's one time that a family can get together and just about talk about anything. You know what I mean?
Soul Food, the beginning. It's the beginning for us. You know what I mean? It's just, we worked so hard to get the opportunity. By the time it was time for Soul Food, we was ready. So, I mean, Soul Food was just the beginning of this book. You know, like, it's still going. We're still in chapters. So the beginning is always the greatest because you'll never have that feeling again. But what we did and what we laid down, I think that it'll last the test of time. So, that's any artist. That's what you strive for, to be an artist, is to be remembered and be remembered for great work. So Soul Food is our champion.
Man, Soul Food, man, the alpha. It's the alpha dog, man, on our in our portfolio. It was the beginning for Goodie Mob. It actually was the connecting body of work that glued each one of us as a foursome, together. We came together as the Dungeon family on OutKast first album. And Soul Food really was just our opportunity to show the world what Southwest Atlanta had brewing for many, many months and many, many years, to come. I have been, blessed to be a part of a loving family, man, that ate soul food every Thursday, together. So that song really touched my spirit and my soul. Every time I think about my grandmama and my family, and my Goodie Mob brothers, just us coming together and working the world together, man, and going out here for nothing, man, just to push the message, man, and let these people, know what was coming from our heart as far as from a musical standpoint.
Yeah, I mean, like, I would just want to reiterate just like the impact that this work of art has on me and people like me who came up from the South. I mean, especially at the time, like, everybody loves Atlanta now. Everybody, says they love the South now, but at that time, it was like, people would say they would never come to the South. People say they don't even come to places like Atlanta or Jackson or Birmingham, and they miss out on the beauty that comes from being Black in the South. And what Soul Food did for me was that it just showed that this was just a beautiful space for Black people. That's always been a beautiful space for Black people as long as we've been here. And y'all put that out, almost 30 years ago, before it was a cool thing to do. So it's just like one of those like lasting legacies of an album like this to me.
And I could add to that too and say, man, that we did make a conscious effort to try to make a body of work that could stand the test of time. So it wasn't total luck, that it stood the test of time. It was just coincidental that our record found relevance, with that COVID situation and all that, man. People really were able to connect the dots with what Goodie Mob was talking about in 1995, firsthand, so it was a real wonderful experience for Goodie Mob because, like I said, it gave us a breath of new life to a new generation of people.
When did this album feel like a classic album to y'all?
First time I heard CeeLo sing Free, Lord, It's So Hard, man, I said, it ain't nothing out there I have ever heard in the hip hop community that's like this, man. I'm sorry, man. I gotta pop the collar, man. Straight up, Low Green, bro. When we brought Goodie Mob whole album together, we said, man, we got it, y'all. It's done. And I heard that record on the front, man, how the record began from the beginning to the end, bro. I cried, man. I cried.
I think when we started going out on the road and just really start doing the music, and then when people start really learning the lyrics that we were saying, you know what I mean, and then started repeating what we were saying, I was like, okay, man, this right here gonna be a classic. And then lately, man, we've been celebrating like the 25th anniversary of Soul Food. So with that being said, then a lot of people just, you know what I mean, just giving us that accolades about, how that was one of the greatest Atlanta hip hop albums, that came out. You know what I mean? When we was making history, we didn't really know we was really making history. I just thought that we was really trying to represent, put Atlanta on the map because, the South was known for different type of music, you know what I mean? That we wasn't really known for a conscious music, you know what I mean? Until Goodie Mob just kind of jumped on in there with Soul Food, you know what I mean? So definitely one of the most important albums that we ever made because, yeah, it was the first album and it was an innocent album. And it was like, man, this is us, man. And y'all gonna have to take it or leave it, man.
What do you mean by innocent album?
Because it was done without anybody influence. Like if you look at the record industry now, it's like the record company damn near the group. They tell the group what to say, put them on different beats, bring them songs already done. In them days, it was just like, yo, I believe in y'all, and they'll let them cut the check, Organized Noize, and we went into the studio and started working. You know what I mean? They had no hand in what we was doing, and they didn't know what we was gonna talk about. They just had the two examples from OutKast first album, Call It a While and Get Up, Get Out and Get Some. So for them, they was just like, we got so much attention from just being on those two records that they made sure that they wanted to, see what we could do with a whole project. So, for me personally, it's like the innocence comes because it was nobody's involvement but ours. And nobody can ever claim that but, Goodie Mob, Organized Noize in the city of Atlanta.
When was the last time y'all listened to the album? All the way through?
Ooh.
It's a recurring thing for me. You know what I mean? I just listen to it just on it just to keep me. If I'm gonna go and record on something else, I listen to that to just get into that mind frame.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's a real easy thing because it seems like those songs, they just, as soon as they come on, they put you at a certain place in a certain time. And
Right.
especially since we're the authors, we know exactly what them verses were derived from. So it kind of pushes you right back into that capsule of pain or that capsule of just, experiencing something else in life that you wasn't up on. So soul food is just like it's like what you said. It's like it's a Bible. It's a Bible. Most of the artists that came out of Atlanta in the South, I mean, their album is studied just to figure out, can I get something from that can help me right now? So, it is, as far as the South, one of the Bibles of the South.
Khujo, when was the last time you listened to it?
Through its entirety, man, it's been a minute, man. But the thing that I like about it is like when we do our shows. I mean, we just put out a new album 2 years ago called Survival Kit, right? But still, when we go do our shows, man, we got to do soul food. We got to do cell therapy. We got to do They Don't Dance No More. We got to do thought process. So it's like I'm listening to the music over again, but I'm listening to it live. You know what I mean? But for me to listen to that, the last time I listened to soul food all the way through, man, I couldn't get through it because it was tears. Tears were coming out of my eyes because I just thought back to like how we was young, man, and man, how was we just able to just hunker down, man, and put this body of work together? Because it just were no 8 bars and no 16 bars. I mean, these were like long poems, man. You know what I mean? That Organized Noize just opened the gate and just said, man, y'all just go for what y'all know. You know what I mean? So it's a thick record. It's a thick album to listen to, man. And after this, man, I'm probably gonna go jump on it, man, and check it out, man. See if I can get through it, man.
It's been about 12 months, man, for me. It's been about a year since I actually listened to each from the beginning to the end. I had listened to all the songs back to back like that. I go in and I might want to hear, one song here. I might want to hear a couple songs there. But as far as listening to the whole album back to back, I can remember doing it last year for a purpose. I mean, I did it for a reason. I was really just trying to get some of that energy from back in the days, back into my spirit, man. Like Gipp say, when you hear them old records, they take you back to that moment in time. And sometimes that's where I want to be. And sometimes I can't stand this time. He'll get on my nerves. I ain't gonna even lie, man. Just to cut on the TV and cut on Instagram all day long, keep seeing these good folks dying over bullshit. Hey, man, every day, bro. Every day, man, we see what we stand for on TV, on the internet, in real life, man. So, I need to listen to some more Goodie Mob. It keep me going, man. It keep me going.
No, I mean that's a good point about going back and listen to it, because like even when I go back, it is like a book, because like I don't listen to the album in one sitting. You know what I'm saying? Like you listen to a few tracks and you really have to sit with it and then like take a minute and go to the next one. Like it's not like and usually people would say that as a negative, but it's not negative for this album, because you really have to sit with everything for so long and then come back to it instead of just listening to it in one sitting. That's how I listen to it.
Yeah, it's like food, man. You can't eat too much of it You know what I'm saying? If you might get that itis, you know what I mean? You might mess around and go to sleep, man, and wake up, man. It'd be over, man. But like I said, man, it was a great start for us, man. We're talking about one of the greatest albums to come up out of Georgia. You know what I mean? Just period. You know what I mean? It's an honor, man, just to even be in that category.
A lot of people do not know what the South in Atlanta was back then. You know, like I want you to take us back to like pre-Olympics, you know, people think of Atlanta as like you go to the Coca. I remember I took a trip to Atlanta when I was a kid, went to the Coca-Cola Museum, went to the aquarium, went and saw Martin Luther King, all that stuff, you know, but like what is that like what was in the city, what was going on in the city in the South, and what were y'all bringing into the studio that was on your minds when y'all were making this album? First of all, first of all, the process. How long was it like from beginning to end, and then what were y'all bringing to the studio?
Well, I mean, it was surreal, like during that time, because you know you got to understand that we were so much a part of OutKast success too. We were so much involved in the making of Southern Playlist Cadillac music. You know what I mean? It was surreal because the time that it took to do the OutKast album was just like an everyday thing with us because it was like OutKast was at the studio every day. We would just show up, we would be around them. But when it was time for Goodie Mob, it was just like it was Goodie Mob time. So us being able to stay at Curtis Mayfield house, consolidate our thoughts, it was a great experience. And also to be in such a legendary artist's house, to be able to see his works and to have that inspiration, to be able to he could hear what was going on. So it was kind of like it was a great thing because it even reinforced us to be us at that time. You know, like we didn't want to be nobody else. I think that's the difference between Goodie Mob and a lot of people. We never wanted to be nobody else. We just wanted the system to accept us of who we were. So I think being in his house, it gave us more confidence because we was starting to level up, you know, and see that we were ready. We had finally got to the place where we were ready to give and be able to really give the audience a real album and something really to say we had lived enough. You know, that's the whole thing about albums and if they're gonna be great or not. Are the people that wrote these lyrics, have they lived enough? Have they been through enough to be able to come up with something better than just a club? So you gotta think about that whole album had no club songs on it. You know what I mean? And you know, like that's what let you know that we were totally not worried about what the radio was gonna say. We was worried about what our peers, our mothers, our fathers, our family, and everybody else. We was making sure that we represented them in the best light. So, you know, I think that's the reason why Soul Food came out so good because we, at the same time that we were trying to express ourselves, we also was trying to make sure that we represented ourselves in a higher light and a higher level. And I think by us doing that, you know, especially during that time, people don't understand that we're in the midst of the East West shit. We're in the midst of is New York hip hop still the thing, or is West Coast the monster that Dr. Dre has created? You know what I mean? So being in the midst of that, knowing that we had to say something that could stick, you know, bigger than gangster rap or bigger than what hip hop was out of New York, we had to make sure that people had a clear picture of what it was like growing up in Southwest Atlanta. And that was soul food.
I got a question later where we talk about studio memories, but I can't go without talking about. I need to know what it was like. Was Curtis Mayfield just? I mean, I know things were deteriorating for him probably around that time, but there any interactions with him or anything like that that you remember? Like that's crazy. I did not. It's crazy to be recording in his like this album in his house.
He wasn't there.
He wasn't there. His son used to come through. His son used to come through and see Coach. We used to have dude that used to be the engineer. He used to come through. So yeah, he knew exactly what was going on. Like, but I know one thing that he did come through one or two of them days, and I know that I got my actual jumpsuit that I wore on the Soul Food album. I got it from him. So yeah, he wasn't there when we recorded, but he did come through and we were able to see Superfly, and he had all of the original recordings of Superfly in his bedroom on a small 2-inch. So it wasn't like he didn't come through that place and he didn't come through there and still vibe, because after Soul Food, a couple of years later, Organized Noize and Curtis Mayfield did the last album before he left us. So yeah, he definitely was an inspiration and definitely was around, you know what I mean?
What was your day-to-day life like as y'all were coming in and making this album? Because y'all seem to be bringing in so much heaviness and things from all the stuff that was going on around you. What was sort of those pivotal moments as y'all recording this?
I mean, man, for me, it was just trying to make sure we got them verses together, man. Really, man. I mean, because yeah, man, just trying to make sure, still living life, man. You know what I'm saying? Because I think we were still fresh out of high school, though, right?
We still hustling, Joe.
Well, yeah, we were doing a little hustling, you know what I mean? But not to the point to where we was kingpins, you know what I mean? But, you know what I'm saying? We definitely was in the streets, but the streets wasn't really, the street life wasn't really for us, you know what I mean? I think it was just for us to look and see what was going on, man, and report about it, man, and keep it moving, you know what I mean? So for me, my thing was to jot it down, write it down, man, as quick as I could before I forget it, man. You know what I'm saying? Because you got the Goodie Mob coming in behind you, man. And I mean, man, being young as they were, man, they still were a force to be reckoned with, man. I mean, you got actual writers. I mean, no ghost writers. I mean, we was writing all this stuff on our own. You know what I mean? So just think about that. I mean, all them verses, we was on all the songs. You know what I mean? So yeah, man, just trying to put that flag up for Atlanta, man. Really, man. For me.
It was a slow place though, Joe. It was slow.
Yeah.
Like Atlanta was real slow before the Olympics. It was a real slow place. Like it was just a big city, but it was still like a small town. I think we ain't really blow until after the Olympics. After the Olympics, that's when this shit became bright lights, big city. You know what I mean? But before then, man, it was a small town, man. People were home by 9:30, 8 o'clock, man, having dinner with their families, man.
Going to the park on Sunday. I mean, yeah,
man, but
right.
it was that fire, dog. You know what I'm saying? It was small town, but it was that G stuff. Now, it would depend on where you was at, baby, because say that got the park, like Joe say, the park, that Moser Park on Sunday, man. We shut it down so bad that when you ride down MLK to this day, you'll see some no cruising signs out there. They had to create laws to stop all the brothers from cruising on Sunday. We was over there, man, at Hartwell Park, over there, man, on the back street. We was over there on Maddox Park on Bankhead on Sunday. I'm talking about it's always been, look, that's why the Freaknik was so big, because people used to hang deep, man, back in the days, man. We were real deep back in the day. I was at Mars Brown College, man. You know what I'm saying? Back in them wonderful days, man. I used to box, man. Me and Khujo was recording our record, man, with the Goodie Mob, man, before the Goodie Mob doing music, man, just absorbing energy. Man, you had Bobby Brown, you had Dallas Austin. So to me, man, them were the days where we had real celebrities in Atlanta, Georgia. Like them were the days of the real Atlanta celebrities. Like these folk around here don't shake me at all. Like they whatever they is. But back then, to me, we had Bobby Brown, and you had what's the little kids? I forgot the little kids. They used to rap, man. ABC. You had ABC. You had Criss Cross. Man, I'm talking about they were hot as fish grease. Remember, Criss Cross went on tour with Michael Jackson, man. Come on, dog. I'm talking about me and Joe, we used to be over there at Jermaine Dupri house trying to get a deal. Getting on my record. We in a couple of the Criss Cross videos if you go back and look at it, man. So that's when the Atlanta hip-hop scene, it was coming. That's when 112 was real hot, when the club scene was real hot with fire. I'm talking about that's when it was at its best. You know what I'm saying? Like right now, nobody want to go to no club, man. Ain't nobody thinking about going to no club now. But back then, bro, that's where it was all born. That's where it all came from. We from that cloth. I know good and well I'm from that cloth, man. So anytime you want to know about the air and what it was all about back in the day, baby, we was in them streets. We lived it. We walked them, lived them and breathed them, baby. Believe it.
I'm trying to imagine Bobby Brown at Freaknik. That seems like
Oh,
like
that Freaknik was sick, man. Man, we be at every Freaknik, every single Freak. Man, I started a Freak. Man, we started a Freaknik over at Mosley Park back in the day, man. Check my records, bro. Back in the day, the Freaknik started at Mosley Park, not Mosley Park, Adams, Johnny White Park, back in the corner. It wasn't nothing but like a frat. It was a fraternity picnic. A bunch of different Omegas and other different fraternities and sororities used to get together, man. They had a picnic back in the back, and it just started growing. It started growing. It started growing. People come over there, get drunk, hanging out, smoking, kicking it. It was love, man. It's a different vibe, man.
I want to talk a little bit about, like, again, I talked about how the album feels so literary to me, like a book. And one of the stories that I saw was Busta Rhymes talking about handing you guys Pale White Horse when y'all made Cell Therapy. I think he said it on Drink Champs. Y'all remember that story? And then also, yeah. So can y'all, because I don't think we ever got y'all side of the story with Busta Rhymes.
Well, I know I was in Bosstown one day, and I was saying we was all sitting in that Bosstown about to record, and ran into Busta Rhymes. I was shocked. We was shocked to death to see him up in there. And we just started building with him. I know Lo got the book first. I think Lo or Gipp, one of y'all got the book first. Y'all read it first. I read it after y'all. I got a chance to dive in and absorb some of that super energy, you know what I'm saying, after everybody, man. But Big Rube was one of the teachers and leaders on the Behold the Pale Horse movement too, amongst our crew. Big Rube was the one that kind of helped me to understand it a little bit better when I was reading it, man, because I sure enough didn't have a clue. I wasn't from that. We were kids, man, trying to read that type of information, man. You know, right now I can receive it and accept it and understand it a whole lot better than I could at 21 years old. You know what I'm saying? But I was trying to understand it and trying to get a better understanding of what we need to be talking about in our music. I know that way it definitely formulated, you know what I'm saying, a direction when we got to the studio. It cut a lot of bull crap out. Say, you know what, we don't want to, it's already a lane for this. It's already a lane for that. You know what I mean? Let's think about what we're doing and vibe on what we got right here at hand.
Thanks, man. Well, Cell Therapy gave us a chance, man, to let the whole world know that the South wasn't just about strip club music or just about some whatever type of stereotype that people thought the South was all about. That one song gave us a chance, man, to get some type of information out to our people. But if you notice, that was the only song like that on the album that was talking about those type of things. You know what I mean? The rest of the stuff was about things that was going on in our city. You know what I mean? About just having a voice, not only in music, but just really having a voice, period. Because some of the things that we talked about on that record, you know what I'm saying, the people of that city corrected those things. You know what I mean? So, you know, big shout out to Busta, man, for just to even to hand us just some more information, man, that just rounded our music out even more. You know what I mean? So yeah, big ups to the brother like that, man, for passing down, because it's about each one teach one. And I think Cell Therapy was definitely that catalyst, man, that really separated us from Southern groups, period.
My verses were literal, you know what I mean? Because I was like, you know, I had to take responsibility and accountability for bringing the streets to my house. You know what I mean? And the different things like that I feel like you don't know until it happened to you. You know what I mean? And then again, let's speak about where music is now. You know, people want to. It seems like people now more enjoy living in the party than living in real life. So that's why you got to understand it's real. The today's people are a little bit kind of like withdrawn from that because everybody trying to escape reality. But in those times, people wanted to understand everything about reality. You know, everything was so new. Internet interaction. You know, people moving to Atlanta, different cultures moving to Atlanta. You know, and you know, so with that being said, it was like the book just represented the last piece we needed to complete Soul Food. And that's what people don't understand it. Cell Therapy, and I believe Dirty South were two of the last songs we did on that album.
If you don't mind, you mentioned the break-in, the house break-in. What is the actual backstory to that you rapped about on the album?
The actual where I'm talking in the soul food line, where I'm telling you, I read in between the lines. You know what I mean? Like I knew that me dealing with certain people in the street and bringing certain people back to my house is the reason why my house got broke in for me having dealers in the street. So that's the reason why Sesame Street was so personal to me, because I talked about first the house being broken into, and then our little partner across the street, little Johnny. That's during the time everybody experimenting with crime. Where you fit? You a D boy? You a robber? What are you? You know what I mean? So during that time, I remember little Shawty, he was part of our crew. He went to the mall. He got caught, stealing clothes, and he was so scared that he hung himself before he went to the court. You know what I mean? And I know that was because at that time in my neighborhood and around me, everybody was experimenting with crime. You know what I mean? So took his life because he was scared, of the justice system or going to court. So, that's what I mean. Like every verse to me was something that really, really happened to me. I never really did the makeup stuff, you know what I mean? It's hard for me to do that kind of shit, you know what I mean? But I had enough experiences with a lot of things in life that, a lot of people just don't talk about. But, that's why soul food was just so great, because if a person looking for stories that can tell them about the good and the bad, I think soul food is a great example of where you can go and show people how hip hop can really be used to teach instead of being used to, for the party. It's good, you can have the party, but like I said, that album didn't have one record that was geared toward the radio on it, and it's a classic. So it just as an artist, I feel like I beat the system because I did it my way.
Soul Food peaked at number 8 on the Billboard hip hop charts. Source gave it 4 out of 5 mics. MTV banned the cell therapy video, which I definitely want to talk to y'all about that. Like, what was your thoughts on the reaction to the album, but also MTV banning this video at the time?
We were the second ones at the Public Enemy to get banned. It is what it is. That now we know. Anytime you say truth, man, you're gonna get banned.
Khujo, what was your thought when when you got the Source thing back? How important was that to you at the time, to see the 4 out of 5 mics in the Source? That's something you were thinking about.
Yeah, that was important, man, at the time. You know what I'm saying? Source was the Bible, the magazine, rap magazine. You know what I mean? So you get 5 mics up in there. You know what I'm saying? You certified as a classic. You know what I mean? So unfortunately, we didn't get that 4 mics, and I can understand why we didn't get it. You know what I mean? Because I mean, our album wasn't I say it wasn't an all out round album because it wasn't a party album, but we still were the type of people that still love to go out, have a good time, man, and do what young folk do. You know what I mean? But it was just that at that particular time, man, that's the message that the Most High wanted to relay to the whole world at that time from 4 Southern brothers, man, that you wouldn't even expect to hear this type of material come from. So when we didn't get that 5 mic, I was like, wow, man, it must be somebody really hating on us, man. You know what I mean? I really
They
felt like
cheated us.
I really felt like I was, man, at that time I felt like New York was hating on us. Cause I mean
They cheated us, dog.
that was a New York publication, you know what I mean? But what about OutKast? Did they give them 4.5
They gave them
mics,
4.5.
right?
They didn't get OutKast to get 5 until Aquemini.
Right.
Yeah, they got
so,
4.5 on that one. They cheated us.
We should have got 5 mics on Soul Food, and we should have got 5 mics on Still Standing.
Yeah, man, they cheated us, man.
well, see, check this out. Check this out. One of the writers that I know said that he got a lot of threats from that 5 mic thing from OutKast, man. Got a lot of threats from doing that, man.
Charlie Braxton.
Yes.
Charlie Braxton, the Mississippi writer legend, wrote
Yeah, legendary,
the
bro.
Quimini review, and a lot of y'all reviews and source also.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
I
he the
know
man.
he was. I can imagine he was advocating for a full 5 mics for Soul Food. So it
man, I
definitely was
know he
not.
was. I know he was. And that's the thing about it, though, man. I mean, that'd have been awesome to have that accolade. But I mean, we good. We good now. I mean, because like I said, about 2 years ago, man, people starting to listen to cell therapy and really dive into it and really see what it's all about. And you got young artists out there like Travis Scott sampling the cell therapy, and a lot of other young artists out here sampling it too. So they're not just only listening to the music. I'm pretty sure they're going back through that, listening to what we were talking about and enlightening themselves too at the same time.
And that's the thing. A lot, since cell therapy became more popular in the last couple of years, people have been asking, and so you got to get the official Goodie Mob, explanation. What is Operation Heartbreak Hotel?
That was the jail down there on Peak Street, right there, right across the street from Magic City. So if you get crazy, all they gotta do is walk you right across the street to the jail. So that's what Heartbreak Hotel. That's what that was, man. That was a little slang that we started to call it, cause you get up in there, it's gonna break your heart, man. So you gotta stay down. You gotta stay down.
Yes, sir.
Hotel 254, man. Heartbreak Hotel 254, man. Yeah.
Hey, stay down, baby. Stay
See,
down.
at the time, we didn't realize that it was a pipeline from high school to prison. We didn't realize what that was. We just thought it was like, wow, man, what's going on, man? Why these brothers and sisters are dying over bullshit at a young age at this time when we was the same age, you know what I mean? And instead of writing about some party shit, we had to sit here and write about what was going on in our neighborhood and what was going on with the community. You know what I mean? So that's what was happening back then at that time, man.
I think it's a perfect time to talk about the way you guys talk about mass incarceration and the way it's stamped in all of these especially early Dungeon Family albums. I mean, like, especially like when I think about Aquemini, also people think about all these other things, but mass incarceration, 3 Strikes is all over that album, just like it is here. Talk about that sort of impact on your lives and like and the way that you addressed it in the album.
One thing. If you look at the logo is the good, and it's got a man hanging in there, and it's got handcuffs. So it's like the good die mostly over bullshit. That's what we was looking at. And then we also tried to have a solution is that, well, you take one O and let you know that at least God is in every man of blackness. So it is some good in somebody, you know what I mean? So that's what we was coming up on, man, back in the 90s, man, seeing our peers falling victim to that, and us, myself, falling victim to having to go sit down or get locked up, you know what I mean? But that was going on back then, man. I'm just, thankful that this is the path that I chose to do music and then try to motivate and inspire and help people on the way, you know what I mean?
I was just locked in on brotherhood, and I had just lost my brother. You know what I'm saying? One of my best friends on the face of God's earth, man. King Bean, man. Anthony Bernard Hampton. You know what I mean? When King Bean died, it touched my soul so much, because like that was somebody who I talked to on a daily basis, every day, hung out with me, kicked it, like really just knew my life, man. And when I lost him, it just kind of showed me, it gave me more direction on what I needed to do. But at the same time, I was trying to find myself, because I had just got locked up, you know what I'm saying, for selling drugs and stuff, man, and doing stupid stuff that I don't really try to get no type of brownie points off, selling drugs or being in that game and nothing like that. Cause like Khujo said, I wasn't never no kingpin and nothing like that at it. You know what I'm saying? I was just out here hustling, man, trying to get to it, man, trying to get to the grind, trying to make some money, man, trying to survive the game. But I also learned that, you know what? I got locked up doing it. You know what I'm saying? And one thing my homies, my brothers know, I ain't the snitching type. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I got locked up for real, man. I could have really got into some serious trouble. You know what I'm saying? I really had some things on me. You know what I'm saying? And grace of God, man, just covered me and And not only that, I was a freshman in college. I was in college at Morris Brown College, and you know, the system was able to see that I was a brother out here that was really intending on trying to do something good, but got caught up in a bad circle. You know, so they gave me another opportunity to make good. And believe you me, I made good.
What are the most memorable studio moments that y'all had while putting this album together? Any stories that you have from being in the studio and making the album?
Oh man, I could think about the time when we did Thought Process in Curtis Mayfield studio. That was like my first time ever like freestyling and recording it. You know what I mean? I was like, dog, man, did I just do that? I was like, damn, okay. All right, okay. I think I might got the hang of it, man. I mean, like I said, just hearing, just waiting to hear what how T gonna come, man, or how Gipp gonna come. You know what I mean? Because I'm like, well, damn, the motherfucker got them doing it, so I got to dig deep. You know what I mean? So just being in the studio, man, I just being there, I can remember just going to the dungeon, man, where, man, just spending the night in the dungeon, man. I was like, damn, that shit's so damn cool, man. I mean, I ain't got to go home tonight, man. I mean, no, you ain't got to go home tonight. Oh, damn, man, what we gonna eat? Oh, no, we got something to eat. We got, man, we got you, man. It was just like being at camp for me, man. Like going to the dungeon, man, writing, man, listening to music like all day. I mean, just even if you sleep, just hearing the music in your head, waking up, you know what I'm saying, finishing up that last little piece of that verse, you know what I mean?
How much freestyle? I mean, I think everybody sort of assumed or knows CeeLo was freestyling in the goodie bag, but how much freestyling were y'all doing on this album?
None. We was writers, man.
I ain't freestyle. I ain't gonna lie.
Right. Writers,
not
man.
freestyle. Nothing on that.
No, some might sound like it. You see freestyle that way.
CeeLo did that goodie bag. That's my most memorable moment in the studio. So that's mine right there. I can remember that day, like Khujo said, we was at Curtis Mayfield studio. I remember Joe there. I remember Ked there. You know what I'm saying? I remember Ray, Gipp. I remember everybody who was all up in that thing that day. I never forget that thing, man. And everybody was just in there, just vibing, man. We're having fun. We was all in the vocal booth. We had blankets in the vocal booth. We were laying down, and I mean, it was really just like a boys club or something, man, like a retreat area. And boy, that day there, man, Lo did. That's why it's so long, because he was freestyling on that thing. So that's my most memorable studio moment. That day there. Yep.
Yep. What was your most memorable studio moment?
I think the night that I did. No, I don't know, man. It's so many, man. The album went from one place to another, because I mean we had some good nights in Doppler. I mean, we went to Doppler, like, man, we had some
Tree
like,
Sound. We had some Tree Sound.
Tree Sounds was crazy, because I remember us starting a lot of doing some of them first songs in Tree Sound.
Yep.
And we did some of that first stuff in Tree Sound. It damn near got to be like them last songs we put, because we did Cell Therapy at the end, y'all. We did Cell Therapy at the end and Dirty South. They were the last two songs we did in the studio. Then the next time we came to the studio, that's when we all was in the studio and they played it with the breaks and everything. But the last song we recorded was Cell Therapy and Dirty South.
What songs on the album do you think have aged the best, or that aged like maybe, you know, you weren't as into them at first, but they're the ones that stick to you now, you know, almost 30 years later?
Oh man, for me, man, it's two of them. It's Sesame Street, man. That's got to be one of my favorite songs, man. Just the name Sesame Street. And I wanted to shoot a video so bad with the Sesame Street Muppets and all that, man. I thought that was just gonna be. I thought we could do that, man. I was like, nah, we ain't gonna be able to do that. But Sesame Street, man, was was a real storytelling song, man. I didn't even realize that I was telling the story. You know what I mean? But that song was so tough, man, because I remember Timo going there busting his verse out. And when he first did it, man, my jaw just hit the ground. I was like, God damn. And then he was like, nope, I gotta do it again. I was like, oh man, don't do it again. And you still can't tell. But it was some of them moments. I was like, oh man, don't. But he did it the exact same way, man. The energy was just so fucking hard. And then this is what a lot of people don't know about Gipp being a writer. Gipp was the one that wrote that hook. Can you feel what I feel? He like, Joe, man, you go in there and say it. You know what I mean? And that was almost like a song that we damn near produced ourselves. You know what I'm saying? Putting it together and doing all that, man. That was one of the songs. So yeah, Sesame Street was one of those for me, man, because it definitely got a lot of story in it, man. A lot of realism in it, man. You know what I mean? For me. What you done, Gil?
I can say Soul Food, man, for me.
Yeah.
It's one of my songs because I really, really took people into an experience of what it's like growing up and being me. Like my father cooking me dinner or cooking me breakfast every morning, you know what I mean? Like always being there for me. So that song was just personal because it totally it explained my life as a normal person, you know what I mean? Like what did I go through in my everyday life? That verse Soul Food really took people into my household to see, you know. And then the second song would be Guess Who. Guess Who too was very much though that verse was very much about, you know, having your mother, man. Your mother always will have your back, even against the police if she feel like you're right. So I mean that actual verse, I think it was the first time outside of what Tupac did, the first time that anybody from my side did something in that vein, and I think that's a classic record there. Guess Who?
I mean, Timo, I'm gonna get you in a second, but I do want to. I mean, Guess Who is such a special record, and it is the album in general has so many like tributes and honor towards Black women. The album, you know, in the album, especially at a time when that was not like the thing to do. Like you mentioned, Tupac had done it, and it wasn't all over the place. Talk about the impact of Black women and things like that on this album, and the way that you know honor so many of them.
We had to. You know, from where we come from, like we don't come from the West. We don't come from New York. Where we from, our mothers were everything. Our mothers was here. Our mothers were in our life. So I think that's the difference. You know what I mean? A lot of people was just looking for us to join in to what was going on everywhere else. And I think that all of our songs were totally different. And, you know, we represented our women in totally different light, you know, what everybody else was doing at that time, you know, because to go from Guess Who to then Beautiful Skin, it's like, okay, like we really hammered down on the fact that we were going to respect our women in the South. So, you know, I think that's another reason why I think that Goodie Mob has had such a long lasting time as far as people loving our music, because we really represented us in the best light that we could at that time when 95% of rap was bitch, 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 bitch. That was just the time then, you know what I mean? So it was like, I think we really did something.
I'm always dying to hear Pimp C stories that y'all have.
Yeah, I can remember, man, I was in there that same day. That same day I heard that record, I was sitting back there in the back chilling. I had never, UGK was brand new. So it wasn't like he was like no big legend like he is now. But I knew about him from Khujo. I went over Khujo's house and he had a poster in his room with Underground Kings on it. I used to always say, man, who is that? You know what I'm saying? Who are them? Who are they? And he was like, yo, man, that's Underground King, you know, Pimp C Bun B. And I be goddamn, man, if they didn't come in the bedroom, man, at Rico's house, I was like, oh my God, there's Pimp C and Bun B. Like, it was just amazing, man. It was amazing to see the poster in Joe's room, and then they come walk in the room, man. I'm like, whoa, we connected, bro. You know what I'm saying? We connected right now. There's some good stuff going on right here, man. Good musical energy going on.
Were there any of those instances with things that got cut or that got changed last minute from what they originally were?
Hey, man, I don't know about them guys, man. 6 songs. I went in there, man. I redid my vocals on them songs, man. I redid them. I came with a different energy, different smoke on them records, man. Organized Noize, man, didn't know which one to come with, man. Them boy picked the wrong one for me. You know what I'm saying? But guess what? It's still a classic. You know what I'm saying? So it's all good, man. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, you want to know what's going on, I got to tell you what's happening. You know what I'm saying? That's how it was, man, for real, man. And the reason why what happened, I can't blame Organized. I got to blame myself. I always find fault in me before I find fault in others. So I say, you know what? It was my fault for not going to the mix.
Wait, what 6 songs? What 6 songs we talking about? And does it drive you crazy when you listen to it?
Yeah, it drives me crazy. Every time I hear it, boy, I'm telling you, I'll be sick of it, man. I'm like, oh my God, I can't stand. I'm just teasing with you. Nah, I love it, man. It wasn't never that bad, man. I'm just a perfectionist, man. I like to go in, man, and nitpick with it. Man, I nitpick with a song forever, man. So it was time for it to just be snatched and put out, man. But at the same time, I felt like I could just do a little bit more to make it sound a little bit better. That's all.
Which 6 songs we talking about?
Cell Therapy for one.
Uh-huh.
Omni 1 million inside for 2. Thought Process for 3. Sesame Street for 4. Man, it's been too long ago for me to remember all that, man, right now.
I mean, those some of your hardest verses.
I'm old.
Those some of your hardest verses on the album. So I think it's fine. Nobody would have known anything.
Hey, I appreciate the love, bro. Appreciate the love, man.
Khujo, Gipp, any of those sort of instances or things that, or even things that like you listen back to that kind of drive you a little crazy if you're being a perfectionist?
I mean, I just didn't open my mouth just then. I just talked like how I talk. I could have went back and really corrected a lot of diction, because when I went back and looked at lyrics, when people tried to interpret what I was saying, it was always wrong. So, you know, that's one thing I could give to that brother Ludacris. He was just so crystal clear when he rapped. You know what I mean? And that was something that I was kind of like always wanted to do it, but it's like shit, you know. It's like when you record something and it feel good, it's like, man, I ain't doing that over. You know what I mean? Because it's like sometimes it ain't my fault. You just ain't from the South.
Can't skip it, didn't give.
Khujo, what about you?
Man, yeah, I got some of them moments. It was one song, or it's one thing that just be goddamn irking me to this day when I hear it, man. It's on Goodie Bad. And it's some, yeah, man. This is why I think I messed up at the end, man. I should have went back in and did that, but don't nobody know it but me though. But that's one of the.
What happened? What'd you say? What happened?
It didn't come out right. I didn't get it out good enough. I didn't get it out good enough for Gipp to come in right behind me. You know what I mean? I should have got damn Greg Lou Gaines that thing. I should have nailed that damn thing at the end.
Uh-huh.
To bring Gipp in with that, and like on 6, no, not 6 minutes. What's the song that all of us is on, man? Me and CeeLo rapping fast as hell, going back and forth. No. Watch for the hook.
Watch for the hook.
Watch for the hook. Now, I wish the goddamn Rico Ray would say, man, Joe, just go in there and slow the shit down just a little bit. Just slow it down just a little bit. But to this day, man, niggas don't even know what I said on that, bro.
I'm not gonna lie. I know just about every word on Watch for the Hook. But everybody gets quiet when you and CeeLo start rapping.
Man, don't even know what that is, man. That shit is crazy, man. But it was one song that I was like, damn, I wish I had went on the album. It was this bitch. It was the one called Goodie Mob Need to Holler at You. Hey. Man, that track was so goddamn. That might have been one of the most hip-hopest track we ever had, man. That shit was tough, man. And you remember that one we did, In My Shoes? Did that come out?
Yeah, I remember that. Huh?
In My Shoes come out? I'm glad you read In My Shoes. Did it come out? Did we ever put that out?
I don't think so.
You in my shoes now. You know what I'm saying? So man, we got a couple of jewels out there. Matter of fact, we got one from
we need a deluxe edition with the B sides,
Yeah,
man.
albums we ain't put out, man. Album.
Go in there and tie down
Sad,
Organized Noize, man. Make them put them out, man.
Right. I want you to talk about the legacy of Soul Food as a trap album, and then also who is making that sort of trap music now that is in that Soul Food legacy. And I guess just the overall, like what, people doing trap everything. They're doing trap yoga, they're doing trap, Pilates, they're doing trap brunch. Like, what do y'all think about the evolution of trap from then to now, and who is sort of carrying on that legacy?
It's great, man. You can't do nothing but say, you can't, trap is gone where nobody ever thought it would go.
Mm-hmm.
Even, even having people on my team that were pop stars and not thinking that trap was gonna make it to London and like that. Like trap all over the world now. So, one of the biggest artists in the world is Gucci Mane. So if you look at really what's going on, and then if you go from Gucci, then you can go, that's what Future does, another variation of trap. You know what I mean? It took trap from what Gucci was doing and Jeezy was doing and T.I. was doing, and they put the singing on it. You know what I mean? So you got to look, and it done flipped 5 times since we had it. So it's like, if you look at it, it's like, hey man, you can't do nothing but respect it because it's done. It's done exactly what another R&B disappeared. Trap didn't.
What people don't realize is that man, when you came down here to Georgia, man, they popped out with not only one genre of music. They hit you with the snap. They hit you with the trap. You know what I'm
Going
saying?
down.
Man, I'm talking about hit you with all type of. I'm talking about really just spread it. I'm talking about really just opened up the genre of hip hop. You know what I mean? I hadn't seen another region do that lately. You know what I mean?
Right.
Even though they tried to downplay mumble. You know what I'm saying? Mumble rap, but I'm sorry, that's a genre of rap, and people are using that genre of rap. You know, I've heard Wayne use that mumble a few times. You know what I mean? A lot of these are young artists, so you can't sit here and not double hand salute Georgia, man, for just even pushing the envelope the way we pushed it and how far we pushed that thing. You can't deny that. You know what I mean? And trap, to me, trap is no disrespect, but trap is more fly than gangster to me. You feel me? Gangster is just one type of way. Gangster is one type of way, but trap is kind of like fly. You know what I mean? You feel what I'm saying? It involves a lot of things. It involves dressing. It involves finessing. It involves, you know what I'm saying, being able to articulate and talk and do type of things. You know what I mean? So you know what I'm saying? Georgia, Atlanta, man, push that thing way out of the coloring lines, man. Way out of bounds, man.
Speaking of trap, I got rapid fire questions, just quick fire questions. Usually they're not related to the album, but the first question is, what is 1365 Wichita Drive?
1365 Wichita Drive, man, is where Khujo Goodie damn near wrote all his lyrics for Soul Food, for the Soul Food album. That's where me, my brother, my mama stayed in Southwest Atlanta. My uncle rented that house out to my mama, so we was able to actually stay in that house and was able to go to Southwest Middle School and Mays High School. So 1365 is definitely a damn landmark, man, a southern landmark.
All right. What's the best, not including Soul Food, what's the best trap album of all time?
Oh man, what you got, Gipp?
T.I.
T.I. Got to.
Everybody mess around with the king.
I don't know.
Who
I
messing
don't
with
know.
T.I.?
I don't
Trap
know, bro. That
Trap House
Jesus,
Gucci, man.
that Jesus,
That
bro. That
Jesus.
you gotta talk to that Jesus, man. That Jesus,
T.I. ain't before Jeezy. Jeezy
Thug
after
Motivation,
T.I.
Trap or Die.
Jeezy was inspired by T.I.
I know it. I'm just talking about on the street, man. I'm just
I
talking
hear you
about
though. That Jeezy was definitely got done deadly though. I can't lie.
like
I'm gonna tell you that.
Everybody knew every word of that
Tip,
Jeezy.
like Tip, the King, love the King. All I'm saying is the King that had that BMF thing going on with his music. Like that's why Jesus shit was just over the top, because it was like you had the clubs, you had the lifestyle, you had the first time you start seeing niggas around here with diamond chains on. Like that Jesus and that Alex AG really, really turned this city into. He really helped that man really turn. Jesus, and if you really look at it, like from time, see, I just think that Tip kind of like when he had to go sit down, Jeezy put out so many big projects that really, really changed the way trap was. So when Tip came back, it wasn't just about the way Tip rapped, the trap. Jeezy and Gucci had changed it. It was different.
That urban legend, put him against that urban legend though. Which one? I mean, I'm just me.
You could put that Trap or Die, that mixtape against Urban Legend.
Hey man, the beats so hard, man. Them damn beats so goddamn tough, man.
Yeah,
that's
bro.
I tell you what, we got three. There's three. You got Tip, Jeezy, and Gucci, man. I mean,
I mean, we could argue this.
And I'm gonna let you know this, folks. The king of that shit is Gucci Mane. At the end of the day, Gucci is the king. He had put out more artists than anybody. More artists, more people that he had put on have become successful rappers, and he's still doing it right now. He got more successful platinum artists locked up than no other trapper rapper had. Gucci is the king. He left, came back home, had more hits, bigger hits than everybody.
I think this is gonna get y'all arguing even more. What's your favorite Dungeon Family track that you that of all time?
Favorite Dungeon Family track?
Watch for the hook.
Yeah, guaranteed.
I tell you what I like, man. I like that Trans DF Express, man. That thing was so goddamn jamming, man. Well, I wanted to be on that song so bad, man, but it was gonna be too many people on there, man. But that thing was jamming, bro. I love that one, man. The video was tough too, man. That shit was hard.
So we got Watch for the Hook at Trans DF.
Watch for the Hook at Trans DF Express, yeah.
Oh boy, that thing nasty.
Yeah, I'm with. I was just making the argument that Watch for the Hook is the best posse cut of all time. So I'm with
that's
you
what
on
I
that
was
one.
thinking too. That might be the best posse cut of all
Bang,
time.
bang, bang, bang.
All right, the final question. What's one song from another artist that you wish was yours?
One song from another artist that I wish was mine. That's a good one right there. Oh man.
I ain't gonna tell you no lie, bro. Like Travis Scott got some big records. He got some big records, boy. He got some like that upper echelon. That upper echelon, like that was a dope record. Like some of his records just be, man. I like art. You know what I mean? I think Travis Scott really, really made some really, really big records that was worldwide. You know what I mean? So Travis got some records that I think is real dope. For a southern artist to reach the plateau that he reached, like and be from Houston, Texas. I mean, he was big.
All right, Khujo, Timo, what's song from another artist that you wish was yours?
You go, T.
That's a hard one.
Yeah, that's a tough one, man. I tell you what, man. That song that Jermaine Dupri and Ludacris got, that Atlanta song.
Oh, Welcome to Atlanta?
Yeah, man. Yeah. Yeah, because I don't think we got like really like an Atlanta song that we've done. Right. I know we've done a Dirty South song, but it's like, you know what I'm saying? Like at the games. You know what I'm talking about? Like when that thing come on, man, that just turned them all the way up. You know what I mean? So I'm like, dog, man, we could have just did one like that. You know what I mean? Just for me. But yeah, that'll be one of them songs like that, one of them Atlanta anthem songs, like that we read it from Pastor Troy. I'm talking about you turn that shit on, man, at the game, bro. It's on, man. I mean, classic Atlanta shit, man. I mean, classic Atlanta shit, man. You feel me? Shit.
I probably say, man, Thriller, man, for Michael Jackson.
Okay.
I wish that was our song, man. I really wish Goodie Mob had to come with Thriller, man. That could have been our first single, man, our first video. We wouldn't even be talking about this right now.
Right.
I'm going for the gusto, baby. I want the billions, baby. You
right, sure. I wish I'd have made Thriller.
It sounds good. We doing it because it's the hardest thing ever dropped, man. That Thriller record, man, nothing else out there could touch it, man. That video, man, nothing ain't been another one came on TV, man, can match it.
Man, yeah, I'm just thinking about Goodie Mob on rapping on Thriller. Michael Jackson singing the hook.
Boom,
Hey, we kill it.
Man, look, this has been an absolute dream come true to be talking to you guys. Like music, writerly, literary heroes talking about like a classic piece of work that has made me feel, affirmed, made me feel my black ass Southern self every time I listen to it. Love you, brothers, for making that album, and thank you so much for being here. And thank all of you for listening to Rap Stories. This has been your host, David Dennis Jr. with Goodie Mob, talking about soul food. Thank you all so much. This podcast is produced by Podville Media for Andscape, a black-led media platform dedicated to creating, highlighting, and uplifting diverse black stories. Andscape, where blackness is infinite. Dina Morrison is the series producer. Our production team: Brittany Danielle, Rob Spiewak, Lenika Belfield-Martin, Ethan Sands, and Eli Nellis. The series was edited by Stephen Williams, Kelsey Johnson, and Rob Ford. Executive producers: Steve Reese, Elizabeth Elson, and Oscar Zabayos. Raina Kelly is Andscape's vice president and editor-in-chief. David Oku created the original artwork for the series. Special thanks to Tracy Smith, Mike Shahade, Rami Mogadam, Katie Lawson, Beth Stoikov, Anna Grambling, Ashley Melfi, John Gotti, Kelly Evans, Ryan Broadhead, and Kevin Wilson. And I'm your host, David Dennis Jr. Thank you for listening.